begin a group dynamics, which is very important to learn. What would be the scenario models, theories, and how you cope up with the conflicts that occurs in a group. So that all we learn in today's session. So let's begin. What is exactly the group stands for? A group refers to you can say, a several individuals who can come together to achieve a particular goal or particular task in an organization. That's called group. So, in other words, I could say a group, you can say, refers to a number of persons or people who come together, you can say, who work for a particular goal or a particular task that exactly called good. So, in other words, a collection of two and more individuals who interact with each other, having a cordial relationship, who always share a common goals among both, and who always perceive themselves as a group member or being including in a group, and that exactly called group. So a group, in simple way, a group is a includes or refers to a two or more persons who always work together to achieve a common goal, who always share a relationship, a cordial relationship between them, and that's ultimate the meaning called goal or group. So our primitive learning. So this is the three diagrams which has been shown, where the team of you can say individuals, a team of you can say members who always work together cooperatively and have a strong coordination, a strong relationship between each other, and always goes towards or achieve towards the you can say goal of the organization or objectives of the organization, and that's called you can say ultimate objective of a group is you can say a group learning, a learning in a learning together in a group towards how to achieve the goals of the organization, how to maintain a cordial relationship between them, and that will be done in a through a group, through a team, to build up a strong team, whether it involves weak, moderate, or strong members in a group. And everyone has an equal opportunity to show themselves being in a group. So that's our primitive learning in a particular group. Wisdom of goals. So it's already you can say great message when it comes to a group learning, that is communication plus cooperation is always a success. So in fact, being as an individual, we cannot learn so much in an organization if you focus or you are an individual focused to achieve the goals. It all the goals could be achieved in a group because together everyone achieves more. So we talk about in a team, a group of a team of a groups where who are given a task with the allotted time. So always they work together towards how to achieve the goals, how they come up to you can see meaningful discussion towards the task or goal. And once the more and more they communicate, the more and more they cooperate towards each other, then ultimately leads to success for that particular group, for that particular team, who always work towards the achievement of a goal. And that's called our wisdom of goals when it comes to a conceptual framework of a guru. So this is the diagrammatic representation of a group, whether it would be two or more person, whether it should share the goals between that two or more person, even the people who see themselves as a members, and there is a strong interaction, coordination, and cooperation or communication among all those members, that ultimately leads to group. So these are the you can see a basic definition of a group, so that if you cannot remember, or you forget something, or if you learn something, this is a perfect diagram to have a conclusive meaning of a group. Why do people join groups? Because to have a stability, how they enhances their achievement capacity. So the people who join the group in an organization because of these five reasons have a sense of security. Always the members of a group always have a sense of security when they work in a particular group as a member. So it creates a security for their jobs to show their themselves that what they can achieve in an organization, and automatically once they get to know their capacity, their achievement, how whether they can able to stable in that particular organization, and that creates a sense of security for themselves, and that's why people join groups, have a status, and ultimately a strong status being attached to to those people who work in a group as being as a member of that the same group, and ultimately a status has been attached to them being as a member of a group in a particular organization. So whether it would be you can say intelligent, or whether it would be a moderate, or whether it would be low. So whatever the status has been mentioned and has been given by the superiors, that will be known and attached in a guru. And ultimately they come forward to discuss in a guru with each and every member about the problem, about their solutions in an organization. So as I told, the more and more communication and cooperation between a group ultimately leads to success. So whatever the task has been given with the allotted time by an organization or by the superiors, definitely get achieved. So that's why I have a status feeling for those people who work and join in a group being as a member. The next one is develop self-esteem. They will get to know about their own qualities. They will put up in opinions about their own self, about their own quality, about their own achievements and qualities, and discuss in a group that if any task has been given in an organization, we discuss with the co-members and share their experiences, share their opinion among all, so that they will learn something and try to apply when it comes to achieve any task by their superiors in an organization. So this is a way that how they develop their self-esteem in an organization, and that can be achieved if the people join group. Next one is power. Of course, they will get a power. They will become feel like a superior, feel like a cooperative member, a family member, being or join as in a group towards the goals that they are willing to achieve, being as an individual or being as a member of a group. So automatically, the both versions of a person can equally develop and have a sense of power to hold that position that has been given by the superiors in an organization. So once the person or a particular people who are working in a different organizations, they hold some position, and that position gives them a power to work and to you can say motivate others, being using their power towards how to achieve the goals and objectives which has been framed by the organization. The next concept is goal achievement. Ultimately, why the people join group, they will learn something new. They will upgrade themselves. They will, you can say, have a sense of achievement towards achieving the goals of the organization. So when it comes about the sense of feeling, a sense of togetherness, a sense of coordination in a group, it automatically ultimate goes to achievements of a goal. So that's why that was the main reasons that the people join a group, which automatically gives the members a stabilities and how and enhances or increases a chance of an achievement capacity. The next one is the classifications of the groups. So there are two main classification, formal and informals. So when we talk about formal, it's defined as a set of rules and norms, and accordingly, it formulates the behavior among the team members that will be directed towards the achievements of an organizational goals, and that's called the formal group. So it refers to a prescribed, you can say, organizational structure or designated work. The work which has been given to a group, that group have to perform that particular task and accordingly achieve the goal which relate to that particular task. And that kind of group who work together, who hold such position, who always directed towards achieving the goals, and that group is called formal group. When we talk about informal group is not being organizational structure, is not being determined by an organization. Such groups are naturally formed in a work environment, and whenever it need any members in need to have a social interaction, to have a social contact between each other, and that type of group called informal group, and that's a ultimate key point of an informal group. That means follow no norms, no rules, or followed by such group. So this is a formal group where it classified into two main categories. So the first one is command group and the second one is temporary task group. So when we talk about under formal group, command group, so definitely the superiors have an orders, and the supervisor has to follow that orders of their superiors. Subordinates has to follow the orders of their seniors, and that called a command group. So if any task has been given to a group, and the group has followed the orders, the follow the commands of their superiors and seniors, and that group is called command group. So rather than doing initially, they just focus first, just have a command or by their superiors, and accordingly they will start or begin the work or task which has been given to them. So that kind of group is called command group. So when we talk about the second group is temporary task group, where the employees in an organization come together to complete a particular task or project. So here the coordination is much essential when they work together, because after all, we can't say that every person have a same sense of, you can say, knowledge or experience, or it holds some more and less in a group. So that's why, so it is any task which is given in the group, they come together and complete their temporary task or project which has been given by their superiors. The next one is informal group. So when we talk about informal group, it's a growing of the company where there is no policy norms being formed for such groups, and such group is has always been formed to ease out the stress of or tensions of the members of the organizations who are working, like for example, employees, employers, a tension between both of them. So ultimately, informal groups come forward to ease out or to reduce such stress and tension among them. So that kind of groups is called informal group. Automatically, when it comes to the you can say importance, so always the group survival and provision of benefits will always be you can say a benefit which has been given by informal groups to those members who actually faces a trouble, uh, you can say among such groups. It also simplifies or to ease the behavioral characteristics of the group and make actions more predictable. So when we talk about that any person behavior who is very become very ill towards another, and it shows the characteristics of a person, and ultimately he always predict the such groups are more predictable about their action. Okay, if something is happen like this, if any negativity will circulate in a group, so such group will come forward and the action is being pre-ready for you can say to make to improve or to reduce or just to elevate such particular issues. Effective communication is always being must from top to bottom without any line of authority. There is not no line of authority. If such groups, informal group, have any you can say issue, they go directly to the head and talk to them rather than they follow up a line of authority. First, they go to the senior, then seniors will give a particular authority to some other more you can say top management team member, then account to go to the chairman. So such line of authority will not be followed by such informal group. If they face any issues, they go directly to the chairman, they go directly to the CEO and talk to them. So that's called informal groups. There are other types of groups, that is interest groups and friendships groups. So when we talk about interest groups, so automatically such group or you can say the people who join such group, they just affiliate to achieve or attain a specific objective with each individual is concerned. So if each individual involved in a group and they have some interest, they have some specific objective to achieve, and that's called interest group. Friendship groups are such groups are formed or developed because every individual members it's have two or more common characteristics in a group. So when they have a similar characteristics, ultimately the friendship exists in such groups. So such type of groups are called friendship groups. So if you are talking about any specific objective of your interest, so that's called interest group. So if any group having allotted a specific task according to their interest and they are able to attain that particular specific objectives, and that's called interest group. So friendship is all about having a similar characteristics and such. If having it, so ultimately the friendship exists in such groups, and that's called friendship groups. Now we talk about the group dynamics. So group dynamics is always refers that how the behavior of the human beings is to be studied in a group. So in a group, every individual behavior is totally differs. So ultimately, what if anyone or any researcher or any psychologist study that particular behavior of the such human beings or well-beings in a particular group, and that study is called group dynamic because it keeps on changing within a time period, it keeps within a second, within a minute, and that you study, that's called group dynamics. And you can see on the screen the exact pictorials, the pictures, the images which has been shown over here. So they are joining as a team and who always focus that whatever we work together towards the achievement of the goals. And that's all the behavior of that those people who are in the group. If we study that, it's group dynamics. Nature of groups. So when we talk about nature of groups, so groups are always termed as an important units of an organization because it works for an organization. It's the organization stands just because of the targeted groups, just because of the talented groups. It always helps in directing and channelizing the constructive efforts. So, being in a group, it always the suggestions and the recommendations will always come up, you can say, in a very constructive way. So, if any task has been given to them within a allotted time, recommendations is always been come up in a group that how to achieve this particular task within that particular period. So, which is if the period is short, a short period has been given to a group, then ultimately they are more constructive and they put their more and more constructive efforts to achieve that goals. And this always helps that how to forward, how to direct and channelize such efforts and turn into a success. The next one is common goals of the company is fulfilled. So definitely when we work in a group, so whatever the goals has been framed by the company and given to a group, then ultimately if a group is working towards achieving towards that goals, then automatically it will be achieved. It will be fulfilled according to the period allotted to them. So that is one of the nature, that is the common goals of the company should be fulfilled. So when we talk about the origin, the first concept of the group dynamic has been introduced by the corporate companies, that is Toyota, Motorola, GE, etc. So when we talk about gas engine companies, so automatically this is the companies or corporate companies which have introduced a new concept that's called group dynamic, and such concept has been introduced in the all of the companies, whether domestic or international companies, BPOs, KPOs. Group dynamics concept is always be there because all are working as a team in an organization, whether the task has been given individually or in a group. So all are working towards the same. That means towards the achievement of the goals of the organization, and that's ultimate a nature of a groups. Those who have worked towards them. Now, Kurt Lewin is a very smart dude actually who have introduced this particular function, that is behavior is equal to a function of personal qualities and the social environment. When we talk about personal qualities, we always talk about the characteristic of an individual, and when we talk about social environment, we talk about that how they frequently interact with the societies, with the people to whom they want or they don't want to. So that's why, is a very smart person, an author who has developed this particular function, that behavior is dependent upon the personal qualities in social environment, which is actually equivalent in a particular group. Next one is social identity theory. When it comes to the theory, the various psychologists have always having arguments that argument is against it, that how they develop their social identities while interacting with the societies. And this theory refers that how the people develop their social identities, as the social identities is always be depends upon an individual. It depends upon the origin, it decided by origin, or you can say the inborn during that particular period. So that's why the social identity theory refers that how the people develop their social identity, and always the various psychologists has always have an argument that how they develop their social identities while interacting with the societies. And that's the main reason it is our personal pride and offense that how we consider and how we develop a social identity while being into a society. And the people will always have an emotional reactions depending upon the success and the failure of a group, because it depends upon the performance of the group and it depends upon the personal qualities and the environment, a social environment, and how they interact with the society. And that's the main reason that this theory has classified two interaction level. The first one is interpersonal interaction, and the second one is intergroup interaction. So when we talk about interpersonal interaction, that means the one individual is interacting with another individual in respective of their social qualities. But when we talk about inter-group interaction, when a particular members in a group is interacting with the another group towards some particular objective or considering some common objectives, and that's called the group interaction. Just like we can take up an example, the social identities in case of nationalism, in case of religion, race, um, any other you can say factors you can consider where the social identity it's being difficult to is being difficult to develop. It will develop by it will develop by organically, it's naturally. So if we talk about religion, we talk about the various classification of the religion. If a person is Hindu, that his social identity. If a person is a Christian, that is his social identity. If we talk about nationalism, that is nationality. If we talk about India, Indian, being Indian is it his or her you can say social identity. So it's processed organically, and how the individual develop, that's a big argument has been you can say implemented by various psychologists. So when we talk about in a group and all an emotional reaction and emotional interaction of one group with another group is always be there regarding the success and the failure of a group. It totally depends upon their personal characteristics. It totally depends upon their you can say achievement capacity and stability, which is called the self-esteem regarding the opinions about their own self, their personal qualities, characteristics of a group. It ultimately leads to a performance of the group, and that theory is actually stands for social identity theory, and it categorized into three parts. Similarity is always very important. That in a group, the characteristics of the individuals must have one or more, you can say similar characteristics. Distinguished distinctiveness. It means that every identity of an individual is different with another. So it's sometime when that identity is mainly known for that person among the group. Status is always be there when we talk about the status. So obviously, status always refers in a society where the society known as a high, low, and you can say moderate status, depending upon their level of you can say the positions that they hold, their level of incomes and spending that actually terminate their identity in a society which is based on their status. So that's called the social identity theory. Now we talk about the group development. So when we talk about the group development, so there is one particular psychologist or the physiologist who has developed this tool, these stages, which are very important to develop the groups or for the development of a group. That is Dr. Bruce Tuckman, who has published his Storming Performing Model in 1965, and after 1965 he has added the last stage, it is adjourning in the 1970. And these five stages are actually leads to group development. So how it leads to the group development, let's study one by one about the five stages. So these are the five stages. That is, the stage one stands for forming, stage two stands for storming, stage three is norming, stage four is performing, and stage five is adjourning. So when we talk about forming, every member in a group always try to get to know each other. You always try to establish a grounded root in a group, that how they interact, how they learn how to interact as a new member with the old members and try to establish some grounded roots or grounded roles so that every individual work in a particular you can say a limit of rules and regulations which has been framed by the organization. But when we talk about stage two is storming, where the members is being controlled by group leaders and it always show in hospitality. So when you see in a group, when you are a new member and working in an organization in a group, so automatically you being controlled by your leaders, group leaders, or we can say in other words, a team leader, and they always show a hospitality towards or on you. So that's called storming. So hospital when there is a hospitality, they always try to show up that this work, that how to do this work and how you will perform you can say efficiently in respective of your allotted time given to you. So this that's called storming. Third stage is norming, where the members who work together develop, or you can say, cordial relationship among themselves, and of course, a feeling of friendship. And that's called norming. So when you come up as a new, start forming, rooting up. Then storming, you just control. Then when you have a when you face a second stage and after come up to the third stage, you feel like I'm working together, I'm developing a close relationship in a group and having a sense of friendship between them, and that stage called norming. You are slowly developing a relationship with all of the members in a group. Stage four is performing. So when being a member in a group, we always work together as a team to achieve the task which has been given by them, to getting their jobs more better, so that when it comes to the performance and performing your task, you do much better you can see as a member in a group, and that's called performing. When we talk about the next stage which has been introduced by the Trump, that is adjourning in 1970. That means that at the end of the time when they have performed well, they get their jobs done, and ultimately that particular group start discarding their goals. They leave the group according to their choice or according to their mindset, have some negative thoughts due to which they left the group. And such stage is called adjourning, where the guru will not, they don't show any respect about the goals of the organization. They just left the group immediately without having any valid explanation to their seniors or to their group members. And that stage is called fifth stage is adjourning. So these are the five levels of five stages which leads to a development of a group. So when a group is developing, so these stages is being followed one by one. When they follow, then ultimately it reached to stage 4 when when their jobs are getting more and more better, and then start they disobeying the goals, and they just immediately left the group. So these are the five stages of a development of a group. So this is a graphical representation where when it comes to the, this is also called, when it comes to the group dynamics, there is a concept comes group development, and that stages of group development and the same stages is also having group dynamics as well. So when we talk about forming, we always talk about the idea of teamwork, but some of the members wouldn't play teamwork, wouldn't play in a teamwork. So as a result, it such structure is very unpredictable, it's very uncertain, and of course the leadership quality cannot be seen in this particular stage, because after all it is an initial stage which always have a sense of uncertainty and plenty of confusion between the members, as the members are very new to the organization and just a forming stage is there. So ultimately we uncertainty and predictable is always exist in stage 1, as you can see in the particular image where the particular boss is sitting and the three members in a particular group were working and having a conversation, being like a teamwork, but actually some of the members are not actually taking much interest, which is unpredictable and uncertain. So that's called the stage 1 forming of a group dynamic as well. Storming is always have a huge rift created because of various disparities, disagreements between the members. Of course, when we talk about storming, so obviously there's a lot of control has been there. So if someone is controlling you, so you have also disagreements between members, you have also disparities between the members, and ultimately you develop yourself. Fine, it being controlled, I will learn something new about it, and accordingly I can reach to the next levels. The next one is norming. Here the people who are in a group actually realize that we need to convert I into we, and that's called norming. When we talk about the situation of chaos is finally settled in this particular stage, and the groups who are working being as an I, and actually they replaced to we. So that's called knowing. So as you can see in an image, where the plenty of the members in a group who has hold hands together and who are having a communication together, being as a team. That's called norming because they have a sense of friendship, a togetherness, which we don't burden own self. They just work in a team and achieve the goals. And being feeling you can say togetherness and friendship that ultimately leads to norming because they are we actually rather than I. And the next one is performing. So if we talk about the teamwork, it's very essential for a group. And whatever the task has been assigned to a group, they ultimately complete it with with lots of devotion and preference. So that actually called just because of a teamwork a unity is always be there so that whatever the task has been given they can achieve with the allotted time. The next one is adjuring dangers. The ultimate, the end of the stage is just end of the group. The mission of such stage is to just lift the group and just make up a new group and let's all the stages starts over again. And that's the ultimate aim of the stage 5. And that's why after having the fourth stage, the next stage has been developed after 5 years gap, and that's called adjourning, where all the stages will start over again, begin with forming. So this is called the fifth stage of group dynamics or group development, which is more in detail. Now we also talk about the basic description, orientation. Like if we talk about in a university level, a new student entered into a university, they have an orientation program about the, or you can say induction program about the university, how what are the courses, what are the faculties in the various discipline, and who you coordinate with in respective of your discipline, the particular contact numbers, the class schedule, time schedule has been given to you, and that's called orientation. It means forming. And same with the groups also. It's just forming, it's just interacting each other, try to understand the behavior of the group, of the members in a group, and that's called orientation. So when we talk about storming, of course, controlled. Obviously, the teachers are always trying to control the students by their own behavior to be in the lectures. Then you just sit and listen. No need to speak during the lecture when I'm speaking. And this is my order. This is my command to you that you need to follow, and nobody will leave the class without my permission. So sometimes it conflicts between a student and teachers just because of this command, because of these orders during the sessions, and that always happen into a group as well. That they are controlled by their group leaders, and that's ultimately leads to a disagreements or disparities among the groups. So that's called the storming. A key point is conflict. Next one is norming a structure. Day by day, they have understood their members. They feel a sense of friendship and work in a team together. So that's called a structure is going, it's working. That's called norming in a group. Work that is performing, that towards the performing your work more and more better, getting their job done, and that's called performing. And the next is adjourning, which is you already know. This is another table about these stages and what will happen with respect of the performances. So adjourning is break up, performing, do your work or job better. Norming is just beyond the storming. That means a friendship, sense of friendship, a keyword. Storming, it's like ordered, or you can say by the team group leaders. Team or group leader forming is just initiate to each other or try to understand and interact together as a team. Now we talk about the model of a group development when it comes to, and one of the model is called a punctuated equilibrium model. It is very simple to understand because it relates to performance and time. And there are two main phases, the phase one and phase two. And within that phases, the particular, you can say, steps has been followed. The first one, it begins from the first meeting. When it comes to the first meeting, they try to understand the task. They try to understand the particular project. And once they understand the project, they try to interact with the members who are already working in a group. And accordingly, the time has been allotted uh, to such members that they will finish that particular task or project within that allotted time. And that a stage begins, a starting stage called first meeting, where the interaction with the members, then a particular project is being given to them and with their allotted time, and that's called first meeting. So when we talk about first meeting, obviously a new group is to be formed, a new members is to be add on to work on a project, to understand on a project, and how they generate a new ideas, a new recommendations to be follow up on that or related to that new project which has been given to them. Now, once the time passes on, there is a transition period. When we talk about transition period, we always talk about the changes. We are always talk about just replace the old norms, just replace or change the rules for the project which has been framed by the organization. Just have a sense of togetherness as where we work together. We don't have a feel of I. They just sense a feel of we, that they together, that they work together in a team and just work with the changes or during such period. Like for example, a technological change while performing a task in a group, and norms changes, replace the old norms into a new ones, replace the old you get old members into a new talented members to work on a project. And that's called a transition period which has been shown over here in terms of trending lines. So once the transition period pass on, the phase two begins. The phase two stands means after the transition, the particular members of a group start working, performing their task. You can say more accurately, effectively, so that the task will get completed or finished in an allotted time. So if the allotted time to complete the task is 1 month, then the phase two, the members under the phase two will start working towards the completing or finishing the task in that particular 1 month. And that's called the completion period, that's called the completion stage. And during the phase two, they start working how to work with the use of technology, with the use of new norms, with the use of new resources, And once the experienced and the new members together work on finishing the task, and once they finish the task they call completion. And that's then we talk about the A, which is a meeting point, and ultimately come up to the B point, that is completion point. That means they interact, they face the duration, then during the phase they start working on the particular project and then complete it according to the time. So when we talk about the performances. So from the A, it begins from the low because they just understanding the task. Once they reach the period and the phases of the group development and reach to the completion, then their performance start growing and reaches to high when they completed a task with the allotted time. That means it shows that their performance is quite good as compare as following up the phases and the periods and reach to the completion time. So whatever the time between the mid the transaction period, the time will be divided by or taking of an average of A and B points. That means adding up our points A plus B by 2, and that's called the transaction time period. So this is called a punctuated equilibrium model, which is a very easy to understand and very easy to express this diagram into a words. So this is a punctuated equilibrium model where every period is to be worked on. It's or the workers, the employees, you can say the members of a group, the employees in a group who are working toward a project should be very punctual on time. That's why the name has been denoted as punctuated equilibrium model. So this is an explanation which has been given according to this model. A set of phases that a temporary groups gone through, that is transition period, and the last is they start phase two activity. They start working on the projects together. So the first meeting is just a direction towards how the directions to be given, how they understand the behavior of the group, and then ultimately they approach the project and try to understand that. Then the project emerges. They start understanding and start working on it. But when we talk about phase two, it's a new period of emergence or to on the project will begin, and they plan, they set up the plan, they set up the rules together and execute that plan so that the particular project would get finished during the transition period, and ultimately the group last is that they finished its work. So that's called the punctuated equilibrium model. So these are the group properties, the roles, norms, status, cohesiveness, size, and ultimately it is called group performance. So when we talk about the group dynamics, these particular five parameters, which automatically leads to group performance, are very important to understand one by one. A short note always being asked in a particular assessment. So, when we talk about group property one, that is roles. So, when we talk about the roles, it's obviously the role is the position that you hold or the position that is given to you or you occupy in a social environment. That's called role. It is a set of expected behavior pattern which is being given to someone who occupied some new position in a social environment or social unit is called role. That's why Shakespeare said, "All the world a stage, and all the men and women is merely a players. So when it comes about the men and women players, automatically that the roles that they play, actually players, that is a men and women in a world stage, so that exactly called a role. When it comes to the role, there are three parameters: role perception, role expectations, role conflict. These points are always, these concepts or points you always face during a work environment in an organization. So when we talk about the role perception, our view is how we are supposed to act in a given situation is a role perception. So it's just about our opinion. It's just about our perceivedness and how we perceive in a given situation that this act should be done like that in such scenario, and that's called a role perception. When we talk about the role expectations are the way that how the others believe that you should act in such particular situation or in such particular context, and that's called role expectation. Role conflict means when it is very difficult to understand the role of one person with the role of another person, and ultimately the result is role conflict. So that's called the role conflict, when the compliance with one role requirement may be difficult to understand or may be difficult to comply with another, and ultimately the results is a role conflict. So these are the three main parameters with respect of roles: role perception, role expectation, and role conflict. So it always being followed in a real world situation when it comes to perception, expectations, and conflict. When we talk about perception, obviously we perceive the given situation according to our own self, instead of looking at what the reality is in a role. That's called role perception. Same in the role expectation. So it are the way that others believe that you should act in a given context. So that is expect. That means the others expect from you that this is the way that you act in a given situation. So this is called the role expectation. Same like boss expect from us that in a given situation you have to act like this, Mr. Rohan, in a particular situation, and this is my expected expectations from your role, and that's called role expectation. That means from the it's related to the role of finance role, management marketing role, like that. Role conflict, when no one is understanding the role requirements, it's difficult to understand with the other. That's role conflict. Now, this is an experiment which has been conducted by, you can say, Philip Zimbardo. Um, that is a 25 male college students from the US and Canada, and it was paid $15 per day to participate. So this is an experiment has been done for getting up the role to understand, actually. So if there is, it is a study of college, 24 male college students from the US and Canada, which was, and it is a paid internship, that is a dollar 15 rupees per day to participate. So if the male students participate in a particular event, then $15 which will be paid, and these candidates were chosen because they were mentally and physically healthy. And of course, they have a common similarity in their roles, that is age, education, race, and social class. So, because of this similarity, they consider experiment and they consider that they each other equals. So, the role is that The role is that is whatever the candidate is being selected of their similarity of their roles of similarities or you can say similar roles, that is in respect of age, education, race, and social class, and they treated like equality in their roles. And these candidates are chosen because they are physically and mentally healthy. So this is such an experiment has been done, which is based on their roles. It's based on their age, education, race, and social class. So if we talk about an experiment, if we talk about the role perception, if we talk about the role expectation, a role conflict, it always comes in this experiment. We talk about the perceivedness. Okay, we have perceived that we have to select those candidates who are physically and mentally healthy, and that the reality is actually the role expectation. The expectation is it is being chosen based on the similarities in their age, education, race, and social class. So if there is no similarity and if they were not being treated equally, that's called the role conflicts. So this is an experiment which has been you can say done by the Stanford professor Philip Zimbardo in 1971. So, what would be the experiment conclusion? Automatically, it's you can see the behavior patterns and of course the situations which has been drastically changed. So, if we talk about the another examples of the experiment conclusion, which has been categorized into 2 points, that is one third of guards become violent. So if you have you can say a very reputed companies, there are plenty of the guards. So automatically, if you can see, the all guards will not behave properly with the employees, with the seniors, and same in the particular prisoners jail, where the security guards actually they are more violent and cruel towards the prisoners. And this is way that how the authority position can alter a person behavior. This is what I mean to say is it depends upon the role that you hold, and ultimately it reflects in your behavior. And that's the main reason these experiment conclusion is to be shown through the roles. That if you talk about the role that you play in a prisoner jail, that is the security guards. So if you can imagine that in within the one third out of the three guards, the one guard can also become violent and cruel towards them. And ultimately, such position can always show in your behavior. And automatically, the behavior is drastically affected by the situations only. The role that you play automatically reflects your behavior, and your behavior it only depends upon the situation. If the situation is evil, your behavior become more violent, and it keeps and ultimately it doesn't change the individuals, it doesn't change the behavior of the individual. Instead of changing the behavior of individual, just focus on changing the situation so that your behavior would get changed towards any other person. So that is the experiment conclusion which has been given over here. The second property is norms. So, what are the norms actually? They are the acceptable standards of behavior within a group. That this is a norms that you have to follow up during a particular task which has been shared by a group members. That exactly called norms. This is a way that you behave in a particular you can say production process in a particular interaction with the new members, and these are the norms to be followed up, and that's to be shared by the group members, that exactly called norms. Norms has been prescribed into following types, that is performance norms, appearance norm, social arrangement norms, allocation of resources norms. The first one is performance norms. So when we talk about performance norms, we always focus about the works groups who provide their members with some clues that how hard they should work, how to get the job done, how the performance could be increased by adopting an appropriate methods and levels towards achieving the appropriate output. And such norms are very powerful in affecting an individual employee's performances. So the norms is basically designed to improve the performances either positively or negatively, and that's performance norms. Appearance norms, how your appropriate dress is to be wear, how much you are loyal to the work group or organization, when to look busy. So such type of things always uh, show up the norms, that's called appearance norm. For example, various schools has a dress code that are norms, appearance norms. In a various organization or a particular organization, a dress code has been uh, formed, that's called appearance norms. If we look up in the hospital, the nurses, they have a dress, formal dress codes that they have to wear. That norm, these are called norms, and that norms the name called appearance norms. Next is social arrangement norm, that or when we talk about such norms are very informal, where the informal groups we are talking about, and how they interact with the societies, how they basically carry on themselves during the lunch break, the friendship level, how they behave, the on and off jobs, and what type of the games they play with the in a social environment, and that calls the social arrangement norms. The next one is allocation of resource norms. So when we talk about these norms are always being originate in a group or organization, and it relates to the pay scale, it relates to the assignments of more difficult jobs, how to allocate a new tools and equipments to the superior, and how they uh, teach, how they motivate of how to use such tools and equipments during the production or process. And these such type of norms are called allocation of resources norm, and how they carry off the resources into their jobs. These are the called common classes, class of norms. Next, we talk about the group property, that is the common classes of norms. So these are the classes of norms. The conformity, when we talk about adjusting the one behavior to tackle on with the norms of the groups. That means when any opinion of individual differs significantly from the opinion of another individual in a particular group, that kind of pressure is actually called conformity. Okay. So this is the that's it for today. Thank you for listening of this lecture. I'm coming up the more and more interesting topics, and we'll begin with this topic in the next session. Thank you for all, and namaste to all.